What's going on, guys, and welcome to my WWE Friday Night SmackDown audio review for May 17th, 2024. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and having a great weekend so far. Like I've said before, usually we have the SmackDown reviews up on Saturdays. We've had them on Sundays the last 2 weeks. It's been a very busy month of May. We should be back on Saturdays in 2 weeks' time. Next week, I'm not doing a SmackDown audio review due to the fact that King and Queen of the Ring is one of those early pay-per-views airing on early Saturday afternoon. So no SmackDown audio review next week, no SmackDown Lowdown review next week. But we should hopefully be back on Saturdays in 2 weeks' time, so keep an eye out for that. But I did think this was another thumbs-up edition of SmackDown from the Blue brand on Friday night, continuing the King and Queen of the Ring tournament, continuing the Bloodline's dominance, and some other stuff. Also, Cody Rhodes and Logan Paul, big development on that front for their undisputed WWE Championship, champion versus champion match for the pay-per-view coming up next weekend. More on that in a little bit. But we did open the episode Bianca Belair, one half of the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, who is not pregnant, by the way. You probably are already aware of this. If you caught the rumor initially on Friday, then you're probably already aware of the fact that it's not true. Bianca, for whatever reason, I think was pulled from a house show or two last weekend. And then in addition, then that's nothing really out of the ordinary. But between that and then Montez Ford, for whatever reason, for reasons I still am not aware of, changing his Instagram bio from father of two to father of three. And why the fuck would he announce like his upcoming kid in a fucking Instagram bio? Again, I'm not sure how people picked up on this, who's checking his Instagram bio consistently, I don't know. And then he obviously continued to change it to, play a joke on people and whatnot, because he knew people were picking up on it. People then, from that, insinuated that she was pregnant. So thinking, that's why she's not going to be on SmackDown. They're not, hyping up the match between Bianca and Tiffany. There might be heat on Tiffany. The Bianca rumor wasn't true. The Tiffany rumor wasn't true. The Tiffany heat on her thing for something she posted about Jade on Instagram on her story. It was her clearly just being a heel. There really wasn't anything too bad about it anyway. I think people were really stretching there. The match happened as planned. Thankfully so, too, because it was a really, really good match. I've been looking forward to this match for a while. I thought at one point we might have gotten it at WrestleMania this year. We did not, obviously. They went in a different direction with Bianca instead, and Tiffany wasn't even on the show. But they ended up having a really, really good match here. Definitely WrestleMania-worthy matchup, because for as good of a match as this was, athletically pleasing, a lot of great moves and moments, and they just had really good chemistry together. I am confident they're capable of even better than this, especially on a pay-per-view stage. So for as good as this was, I think they could do even better. The story is that Bianca won on her injured knee. Now, her knee is obviously not legitimately injured, but they're telling the story because clearly she's either going to lose in the finals or is going to lose to Nia Jax next week. Maybe she tries to get Nia Jax up for the KOD, and she can't because her knee gives out. Very possible. But she won on that injured knee anyway. I was hoping Tiffany would advance here because I was hoping Tiffany would go on to the finals and win the whole thing. Unfortunately, she's not, but that doesn't mean all hope is lost for Tiffany fans. I still think there's a pretty strong chance, as she should, go on to win the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match coming up in early July. I think, honestly, for as great of a gimmick as it would have been for Queen Tiffany, I think it even makes more sense to have her as Miss Money in the Bank if the idea is to crown her as champion by the end of the year. Probably sooner than that. But I thought this was a really good match, though. Bianca wins clean. Tama Tonga took on LA Knight in a King of the Ring quarterfinal matchup. Nothing really out of the ordinary, but right before this match, we saw LA Knight, I think it was right before the match, they went face-to-face. LA Knight and Carmelo Hayes, who again went face-to-face a little bit later on in the night after LA Knight lost, and they had a really good interaction. Clearly setting up something between those two for later down the line, maybe even next week, as Carmelo Hayes, spoiler alert, did not advance in the main event against Randy Orton. Not even a spoiler alert, that's in the fucking headline of this video. So clearly setting up something between them. I don't know if they had a match in NXT. They may have, I don't remember, but LA Knight was there when Carmelo was there for a good 6 months before LA Knight got called up, so they may have had a match. I remember Knight facing Grayson Waller and having a feud with him. I don't remember LA Knight and Carmelo having a match. I know Braun Breaker beat LA Knight in his in-ring debut on NXT back in late 2021. Carmelo and Knight, I'm not sure. But they did tease that. They also teased Knight going face-to-face as he was approaching Nick Aldis's office, Logan Paul. United States champion, which was really interesting. Now, I've been pulling for this match for a very long time now, really since last summer, when they had that initial interaction on Raw heading into Money in the Bank. They interacted in that match. They had some brief back and forth on the mic heading into that match. That was not the SummerSlam match. They went in a different direction with both guys. Logan Paul won the United States Championship. I thought LA Knight would take that title from him at WrestleMania. He did not. Logan Paul is still the champion, but he did not face LA Knight. And I'm hoping we still get that match. I'm not sure why they would have them interact here if the idea was not to have them go one-on-one at some point soon for that United States Championship. I would say latest SummerSlam, but ideally before then. So anyway, LA Knight lost to Tama Tonga here despite them teasing Logan Paul and LA Knight and Carmelo and LA Knight. Tama Tonga winning was always really kind of set in stone. Not winning clean, though. He did win off of interference and from a distraction at ringside from the rest of the Bloodline. So a cheap finish, but the right finish. Knight needs to win something of significance soon. He did beat AJ Styles at WrestleMania, and he obviously got this far in the tournament simply by advancing one round. But he needs more than just that. He needs another win on, bigger wins on TV, and hopefully in the form of the United States Championship on the sooner side, like I said. But I thought this was fine. The aforementioned development in the Cody Rhodes Logan Paul saga as we head into King and Queen of the Ring next weekend. They announced last week it would be a champion versus champion match. Not title for title. They said champion versus champion. Now, if they did this on purpose, then kudos to them. I'm always skeptical to give them credit on that front because sometimes they do it intentionally and it's obvious, and sometimes they are kind of forced into doing things a certain way because fans complain or it really just doesn't make any sense, and they realize that after the fact, and then they say, oh yeah, that was the plan the whole time, when it really wasn't. This honestly very well could have probably been the plan the entire time, to just have it be for the undisputed WWE Championship. Just to set up this segment where Logan Paul made it clear via his lawyer that he never agreed to have his championship on the line. Because Cody Rhodes did say in that segment last week, I would look great with that United States Championship around my waist. So he could have very easily said in that moment, Logan Paul could have last week, well, my championship isn't on the line. The way they held up their championships and whatnot, they really did make it seem like it was for both belts. And I've said before, I said in that review last week, I said on WrestleRant Radio this past week, and even on hashtag AskGSM, I thought it was fucking dumb to have both belts on the line. Cody Rhodes should not be United States champion. LA Knight should be taking that title off of Logan Paul. And Logan Paul obviously should not be the WWE champion at this juncture, if at all. So to clear that up here, I thought that was well done. They had him complain about it. Cody Rhodes kind of dismissed Nick Aldis and said, listen, if you want it just for my championship, that's fine. I'll take on that challenge. So he got Logan Paul out of the ring, this whole fucking posse of people. Logan Paul always comes out with like 1 million different people for every match segment. Maybe not last week, but this week he did. And then Cody put one of the jabronis through a table. So I thought it was a really good segment with some more great mic work between the two. Nia Jax taking on Jade Cargill in a Queen of the Ring quarterfinal matchup. I was worried about this. I mean, I was skeptical going into last week's SmackDown with Jade and Piper Niven. That could have very well been a disaster. It ended up not only exceeding expectations, it ended up being a pretty good match. It was basic, but they worked that basic style very well. The crowd was into it. They pulled off some impressive stuff, specifically Jade. Niven sold really well for her. She was the perfect opponent for Jade. They had a good match. I wasn't as confident about this match, though. And I thought the way they executed it was smart. They kept it brief. They went to the DQ early. Now, granted, it was a lame finish, but you kind of had to do it that way because Jade's not losing by pinfall. She shouldn't lose by pinfall at this point. She shouldn't be losing by submission. It could have been way worse. They had Nia instigate Jade's daughter, who was in the crowd. I don't know if they were, I don't even know where they were on Friday, but I don't know if they were in the area of where Jade is from. I'm not sure, but her daughter was there. Nia went up to the daughter. Jade got pissed. She took the chair out of Nia's hands, who was going to use it first, and Jade hit her with the chair. You would almost think since Nia grabbed the chair first, and I know why they did this, but you would think it almost could have been a double DQ, which is why I would have had Tiffany beat Bianca, and then Tiffany could have gotten a bye because it was a double DQ. She goes on to the finals. Doesn't even have to wrestle next week. That's not what they did, though. Bianca's going on to the semifinals next week against Nia Jax. It was Jade who got DQ'd. It would have been incredibly fucking dumb to do Bianca and Jade a even bigger attraction than Bianca and Tiffany on a SmackDown. That should be on a pay-per-view, Mania, SummerSlam, whatever. So I'm glad they're not doing that next week. The way they did this was perfectly fine. and I thought the match was, fine for what it was. So Nia advances by DQ. We had DIY taking on Legado del Fantasma. I don't think I mentioned it last week. They had a DIY video package on the show last week. It was good. It was like a minute long, kind of recapping their journey and what they want to accomplish on SmackDown. A good profile package for them. This is more stuff that they need. This is exactly what they need. Now, it's not going to get them over overnight. They need to rack up more wins, cut more promos, really connect to the audience. But this is a big step in the right direction. Picking up a win here over Legado del Fantasma's Angel and Berto. Pretty, it was a nice match. It was well wrestled. Really nothing out of the ordinary about it, but it was a nice win for DIY. They had A-Town Down Under, Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, the current WWE Tag Team Champions, sitting at ringside. So they're teasing they might be going to DIY versus A-Town Down Under soon, which I would not do. They just became champions at WrestleMania just over a month ago. They've only had one title defense so far, one match period, I think. DIY just arrived on SmackDown. Give it time. Keep them apart. Have DIY rack up some more wins before SummerSlam. Beat a few more teams. Maybe have an interim feud with another team. A-Town Down Under can face another team on SmackDown. They just beat the Profits. I don't know what other babyface teams they have. New Catch Republic's already gone. They're on Raw now. I don't know. Pretty Deadly we have not seen on SmackDown in like 2 months, which is disappointing because they beat Kevin Owens and Randy Orton right before WrestleMania. The problem is they're a fellow heel team. So there's really not a whole lot for them to do on SmackDown. So I'm sure there's another babyface team I'm not thinking of. The Profits, Bloodlines are heels. Legado, LWO is on Raw now. I'm trying to think of another babyface team on SmackDown. The Profits, I don't know. There's got to be, maybe not. Honestly, maybe not. I'm not sure. It might just be DIY, which is why they might be going to that match soon. I hope they don't, though. I hope they hold off on it, or at least build it up a bit more. Maybe they do the match, and A-Town Down Under win the first one, and DIY eventually win at SummerSlam. They have to win the tag titles at some point. If they just have like Ciampa turn heel and Gargano, a la 2017, before they can win the tag titles on the main roster, that would be incredibly fucking dumb. The main event, Randy Orton taking on and beating Carmelo Hayes in a very good match. The second main event for Carmelo on SmackDown in less than a month. The first one being against the undisputed WWE Champion Cody Rhodes back on night one of the WWE Draft in late April. Another really good showing here from him. I figured Orton would win. The outcome was not unexpected, but I thought they worked well together, had a really nice match. And Randy Orton is headed to the finals of the King of the Ring tournament. Not only that, though, getting on the mic afterward, addressing the Bloodline. I don't know if they were not short on time, but they had more time to kill, so they had him cut a promo, or this was always the plan. Probably the latter. But they had him get on the mic, address the Bloodline. They've been a thorn in the side for a long time, obviously. It was the Bloodline who put him on the shelf in storyline 2 years ago, cost him 1.5 years of his career. And then he also went right after Roman Reigns, upon returning, failed to win the undisputed WWE Universal Championship from Roman Reigns because of the Bloodline's interference. So he's pissed about that. And he still wants the Bloodline. He's going to get Tama Tonga next week. He also had, obviously, the Bloodline match at Backlash with Kevin Owens and Bloodline Tama Tonga and Solo Sikoa beating Orton and Owens in that matchup. We have not seen Owens since. So what I'm hoping happens next week on Raw, I mean, we'll have a better idea by the time Raw comes. If Gunther wins, Gunther is not facing Tama Tonga in the finals. And I think SmackDown, typically before these overseas pay-per-views, these PLEs, they tape it on Saturday or right after SmackDown. They tape it back-to-back. They're not doing that with this one. They're actually last month, or Backlash earlier this month was the same thing, where they taped it in the same host city. And it was a taped show. It didn't air live on Fox. But they did do it live, and they did, not live, but they did it in Leon, and then they aired it at the usual start time here in the States. So I think they're doing that next week as well with SmackDown. I think they're taping it. They haven't taped it already, I know that for a fact. They're taping it in Saudi Arabia next Friday. But what I was going to say was, again, if Gunther beats Jey Uso on Monday, and he fucking should, then it's pretty clear it's going to be Orton. I would have Gunther beat Jey on Monday. Orton beats Tama Tonga, but only after interference or distraction from the returning Kevin Owens, who goes after Solo or Tama, whatever, and then Orton wins. So that's what I would do. I don't think you need the King of the Ring tournament to further the feud between Jey Uso and the Bloodline, and I just think it's a fucking crush, and it's a waste. It's too soon for Tama Tonga. If he was going on to win like the United States Championship, then sure, but he's not. He's just a kind of a secondary player in the story right now, which is fine, but he doesn't really need to win King of the Ring just because his father, Haku, didn't win King of the Ring, but he held the crown at one point many years ago. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't have Tama Tonga win. I certainly would have. I mean, Jey Uso would be a better choice because at least it gives him something. But my whole thing is, for King of the Ring, if they really want to make it mean something, the winner, for as popular as Jey is, should go on to win a championship or be groomed for the main event, the way it was, whether it be intentionally or unintentionally, back in 96 with Stone Cold, in 97 with Triple H, maybe not Shamrock and Billy Gunn necessarily, but 2000 with Kurt, 01 with Edge, 02 with Brock. All of those guys went on to win world championships in the months or years that followed. So hopefully something similar happens with the winner of this year's tournaments really, King and Queen of the Ring. I don't think Jey Uso's winning the Intercontinental Championship anytime soon. I don't think he's winning the World Heavyweight Championship anytime soon. So I just think the King of the Ring win for him would be a waste. I think Gunther can win. It perfectly fits him. He's the ring general anyway. Have him win and then go on to win the World Heavyweight Championship or at least challenge for it at Bash in Berlin or SummerSlam or whatever. I think that's the way to go. So I'm hoping Tama Tonga does not beat Orton next week. I'm hoping Jey Uso does not beat Gunther on Monday. I just think Tama Tonga and Jey Uso in the finals is lame. I think Gunther and Orton makes a lot more sense. They've been going back to the knee injury for Orton, which is kind of fucking lazy, by the way. Why do both Bianca and Orton need knee injuries in the same, two different tournaments, but on the same show? Like, at least do one on Raw or a different body part or something. It's the exact same injury and storyline. I think that's leading to Gunther locking in that submission that he's been beating Woods with and Kofi with and Sheamus with last week. Just, to me, makes the most sense. I also think Gunther and Orton would be, Jey and Tama Tonga we've never seen before, but Orton and Gunther is a big-time match. We might not get that anytime soon. They're on separate shows. I think Jey might make his way over to SmackDown at some point for the Bloodline stuff or vice versa. They might head over to Raw. I think it's more likely Jey and Jimmy head over to SmackDown to do that feud. But I think Gunther and Orton we're not going to get for a while. So I would do it in the finals of the King of the Ring next weekend. So that was SmackDown in a nutshell for May 17th, 2024. A good show, another enjoyable show, a very focused show, furthering the tournaments, a win for DIY, a great contract signing, establishing what I wanted with only one championship on the line and not two. You would think we would have the opposite effect, like, oh, it was, false advertising, I want both belts. No, I really don't. I really just want it to be for the World Championship. Logan Paul, it makes it even more obvious he's not winning, but that's fine with me because that championship should not be on the line until LA Knight wins it. But a good show this week. Like I said, no SmackDown audio review next week. King and Queen of the Ring is airing early on Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern over here on the East Coast. So I will not be reviewing the show. I'll be watching it. Written review up on WrestleRant.com, hopefully up before the pay-per-view next weekend, but no audio review of the show. No SmackDown Lowdown either, most likely. There never really is a SmackDown Lowdown whenever these Saudi shows happen, so we'll be back with these reviews hopefully on Saturday, June 1st in 2 weeks. So until then, guys, have a great one. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm Graham G. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.